Looking to make a difference with your shopping? Visit communitypayitforward.us. Select the mission or cause you want to support and scan the QR code. You have two options. Click the first link and browse our giving partners, or use the second link to tell us what you need, and we'll find the right partners for you. Shop with these partners and keep your receipt or invoice. Next, click a picture or simply upload a picture of your receipt to the portal in every form, adding your name and email address. Your purchase now turns into a donation to the mission you've chosen. Community Pay It Forward shares your business story with those in need of your services to rally support for those who need us all. Well, here's kind of a funny lesson for you. Have your hands off the mouse when you go to sneeze, or you're going to hit the wrong thing. Even if you're not ready to start a show, you're going to start the show anyway. Hey, everybody. My name is Zach Clayton. President and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Carry, and the PAC channels. Welcome to Footprints Forward, where our goal is to tell the story of people who have suffered with mental health issues in order to try to spread the word, spread their story, and save lives. Our guest today is going to be Toni LaShaun, who is a beautiful, beautiful young lady who is dealt with anxiety and depression for quite a while, since college is what she says. And she used her artistic abilities to be able to take and create something beautiful and try to help other people along the way. This is it's a really eye-opening interview for me, because I always learn a lot when I talk to people who do things in faith, due to faith, due to religions, because I am not a outright religious person. I am a person who believes in a lot of things, but there's no one, to me, there's not a single religion that really speaks directly to me. So when I hear people like Toni talk, it's really kind of neat. She's able to take and help me to understand what she goes through. Right here, you're looking at her website, which is ToniLaShaunMusic.com. ToniLaShaunMusic.com. And if you go in here, there's all kinds of things that you can see. As you see there, you have a chance to investigate her bio, go to her music, her speaking pages, and buy some of the merchandise and some of her devotionals and other things. And we're going to talk a little bit. We don't get into those that much on this interview, but I think that we're going to try to get that the next time. So, without any further ado, I am proud to bring to you this wonderful interview I did with Toni. We recorded this last week, and I really enjoyed myself, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Love it when the little QR code works and when we get a chance to talk to people that we probably would not have had a chance to talk to before. I've mentioned the speakers event before, and that's where I met this beautiful lady, Toni LaShaun. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Toni, I am looking at your website, which is ToniLaShawnMusic.com. And I would like to say that you're probably not bored very often because you do a lot.
I do. I
Uh,
wear many hats, uh, a,
yes,
a Jill of many trades, if you will.
yeah, I mean, just up here on your on your navigation guide, you've got music, speaking, um and merch, um devotional plans. I know that you've got books out there that help people that are they're like little journals, right?
I have a journal out, the Don't You Worry devotional journal, that is based on the plan that I wrote to go with the song Don't You Worry. So that's out there. And then I also have devotional plans for the other 4 songs from that EP that are on YouVersion's Bible app. So not like a physical book, but in the app, people can go through those devotional journals and kind of get some encouragement and some inspiration if they're going through a particular issue.
Tell me, Tony, what is it about writing that helps you out?
Writing is one of my therapies, I will say. Writing helps me to focus in on what the actual issue is that I'm dealing with. One of the things that I learned from my recent therapist was that my feelings are indicators. So it's okay to feel my feelings. I was the type of person that would like bottle up my feelings. And so he encouraged me to go ahead and feel my feelings because they are indicators of something that's going on. So writing usually helps me get out like exactly what it is that's causing me to be sad or anxious or fearful or whatever that emotion may be that's coming up. And so it gives me the opportunity to kind of get everything out in front of me. Then when I see things in writing, I can kind of go through them and know what I can handle. I can go find scriptures that are encouraging that deal with that particular issue, or it helps me to know how to talk to somebody about that problem.
How often have them writings become singles?
So it varies. So, um, I debuted my first EP 2 years ago, and it has 5 singles on it. And then since then, I've done remixes of 2 of those songs, but I've written probably over 100 songs, probably more than that. I have lost count. And some of those songs are for me, just to kind of get me through that particular issue, that particular whatever season I'm in, or there to express my feelings, even not that trying to say that I'm like sad all the time or anxious all the time. Like sometimes there to express my joy about a particular season or just for my own personal worship. And then there's other times when I know like I'm not just writing this for me. This is somebody else needs to hear this. And so when that happens, that's when the writing becomes a single or it becomes a book or it becomes a devotional or whatever else, whatever um, you know, way I can get it to other people because my main mission is just helping people. Just I have had a relationship with Christ since I was 6 years old, and that has not stopped me from having ups and downs in life. But I know that I was put here on this earth to encourage other people and to help them through by shining the light of Jesus and by sharing the love of Jesus. And so, he gave me this beautiful talent of writing, and it not only helps me, but I try to use it to help other people.
Well, people are going to find out that you've also got a beautiful talent of singing. We are going to play the original version of Don't You Worry after we're done talking. When I sign you out, we're going to go on ahead and we're going to play your video. And I thank you very much for giving us permission to do that. Um, so Don't You Worry that's the start of all this.
Don't You Worry. I wrote Don't You Worry in 2003. So, like 21 years ago, I was just coming out of law school. I realized halfway through law school that I did not want to be a lawyer. So I was kind of having a quarter life crisis, trying to figure out what to do with my life. I discovered while I was in law school that I had generalized anxiety disorder. I always knew that something was going on with me, but it never had a name until I was about 24 years old. And so I was kind of dealing with a lot of identity issues and things, and I was worrying a lot. I was anxious a lot. I had a lot of concerns. And growing up as a Christian and growing up in the church, um, the message that I heard, I don't know if it's necessarily the message that was being spoken, but the message that I heard was, I'm not supposed to worry if I have faith. And so that was also something that was kind of um, paralyzing me, was thinking that I was letting God down because I couldn't stop myself from worrying about what was going to happen. And through like prayer and reading scriptures, I just kind of started writing out like what it feels like when those episodes of anxiety come over me. Right. So the song starts like worry creeps into your mind like a thief in the night, robbing you of your peace, and you can't see how everything will be all right. Like that's where I was in that particular point in my life. Like I would just be going around trying to like mind my own business, live my life, do what I needed to do to get by. And then all of a sudden, all of these thoughts would invade my mind and tell me about everything that was going to go wrong. And any sense of peace or calm or, thinking that I had things under control just went right out the window. And so that's where that song came from. And it started off as one of those that I talked about before. That was for me to like help me get through things. Um, Back then, a lot of the writing that I was doing was just more of that like therapeutic writing. I just liked writing songs and poems and writing things out in my journal. About 8 years after that, my grandmother passed away, and I sang at her funeral. And one of my cousins was asking me what I was doing with my gifts, basically, in the kindest way. But she was like, "You're talented, and you have these talents. Like, what are you gonna do with them?" And so that next summer, I started looking into recording some songs that I had written that I felt like other could help other people. So I recorded an original version of "Don't You Worry" back in 2012. that a lot of people liked. I had it on my YouTube channel, and um, you know, people really kind of vibed to it. It was like a kind of pop version that wasn't really me. I thought of it as more as a song that I could pitch to other artists. So when I started pitching to artists as a songwriter, once I had like a big enough catalog and I started pitching to publishers and other artists, that was the song that always gained the most traction. And I feel like it's because so many people could relate to it and they could relate to the message because we all have anxiety and stress about different things. Not everyone has it to the level of people that have anxiety disorders, but we all have issues with like our relationships, our family, our finances, our future that just kind of put us into a state of a panic. And so that song was just meant to like encourage people that they don't need to worry about all of these things because God cares for us and he'll work it out for you. And so I actually kind of flipped the script on something. There was the verse Philippians 4 and 6. That verse kind of haunted me for most of my life because it said be anxious for nothing at the beginning of it, and I was like, I'm anxious all the time. So I am a terrible Christian and I'm really bad at this because I'm anxious all the time. But actually used that scripture to encourage myself and encourage other people that goes on to say that you can take all of your cares to God for he because he cares for you and find things to be grateful for. And so when I decided that I was going to do release an EP, I knew that the song had to be on there. So I updated it and made it more like my style of music. So the original version's like a kind of a
Dance
beat
mix.
jazzy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You've also got, yeah, you got a dance mix on here.
Mhm.
Um, it a lot of people are going to say somebody who's got anxiety, and even, well, anxiety issues, music is probably not a great place for them because, you're always being judged.
Mhm.
Everybody's always judging people anyway, but especially in music. Well, this person sounds a lot like this, or why did they say this there? That doesn't make any sense, or something like that. What did you have to do to get that out of your headspace? Realize that, you know what, they can say that, but that doesn't matter to me.
Therapy. Um, so when I when I released my EP, that is when my insomnia came back to haunt me. I've had issues with insomnia too. It's usually anxiety related. And when I was releasing these songs, I was so ironically worried about how they would be received, how many streams I'd get, and would any major artists want to do their own version of them? Would they reach the people that they're supposed to reach? And how am I going to promote them? And just there's all of these things that I didn't know were going to be issues before I made that decision to um, put the EP out there. And so I started kind of like obsessively promoting and doing things, which led to like constantly checking statistics and constantly checking social media. And then that led to comparison thing. And one of my favorite quotes, because it's so true, is comparison is the thief of joy. And so it kind of sucked the joy out of things for a while with releasing the music. It was like I released my first single, the title song of the EP, Strength to Soar, in April, and then the whole EP was out in September. And then after September came, I just, there was like a big kind of like letdown almost because I had all of these like goals and things that I wanted to happen that weren't happening. And I had to, and I started to like beat myself up a little bit. And I started to like I said, not sleep and just all of these things that kind of like snowballed until I got into a place where I really needed help. And thank goodness, my family, and particularly my mom, is not afraid to tell me when I'm in a place where I need help. And she knows that, it's not the kind of help that she can give me. And so she encouraged me to find a new therapist. In doing so, it kind of helped me get back to the heart of why am I doing this in the first place? Am I doing it for streams? Am I doing it for money? Not really. I'm doing it because there is a message of encouragement that needs to get out there. And as far as like comparing to other people, my voice doesn't sound like anybody else's voice. I'm not trying to copy anybody. I'm not trying to be in anybody's style. I'm not trying to be another person. People are going to love it or they're not. And if I truly believe what I say, I believe, I know that it's going to get to the people who need to hear it and the people who need that message and the people who need that encouragement. So I was able to kind of step back um, and take all of my anxious thoughts about where is this music going and what is it doing out of the picture. Because leading up to that, even just, but when I was behind the scenes, just as a songwriter, like pitching songs, you get rejected all the time. And it's
Yeah.
like, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? Like, what is going on? Like, this is really frustrating. Um, but you have to kind of peel back the layers and get back to the heart of the matter, which is why am I doing this in the first place?
What uh, what is it like when you hear somebody singing along with you? What is
Ooh,
that feeling?
there is literally like my cheeks hurt. I'm smiling so hard. There is no other feeling like that. Um, Specifically, like the first time that I heard, I have three nieces. They're 27, 7, and 6. So when the EP came out, they were 25, 5, and 4. Um, and my middle niece is a singer and a performer, and she just loves, and so is my oldest niece. But they like hearing them sing the song, especially the little one and her little baby voice, like when she was little, she couldn't even pronounce all the words right, but like she knew all the words and she picked up on the melody so easily, and just like the joy that she exudes when she sings it. And then last year, my oldest niece, who we called the first niece, she had a performance. She was actually out performing and she sang my song Strength to Soar in her set. And it like that in and of itself is just like beautiful. But I lead worship at my church, and as I sing the songs more and more and more people get them. And when I look out into the congregation and I can see their lips moving and they're singing the song along with me, like that is, it just warms my heart. It's one of those moments where I know that God is like letting me know, like, yes, you're doing the right thing. Like, it may never be that I'm like a chart topping artist. I don't know if I could handle that anyway because I'm a super shy introvert. But like, but just knowing that the music touches someone so deeply that they took the time to learn the words of the song, like one of my lesser known songs I sang during our Resurrection Sunday service, and one of the brothers at my church came to me and he was like, "That is my favorite song on your EP. I'm so glad you sung it." And it's one of the ones that has like the least streams and the least plays, but like that's his song. And then I'm a teacher, and one day at the end of class, hopefully I don't get in trouble for this, but my students like to Google me. So they Googled and they found out that I had out music. And there was one day where they like one of them turned on their Apple Music and they were playing my song 100,000 Heartbeats. And I was like, y'all can't play that in the school. I was like, and they were like, Miss Worley, this is our jam.
That's
Like,
actually, my oldest son, he teaches in Japan, and he he basically he's got a second job himself. He's a professional wrestler. And so every once in a while, he's supposed to be this big bad guy, and all of a sudden one of these kids will show up at one of his shows, and then all of a sudden he becomes, the cuddly
Yeah.
teacher guy. But it is so funny because he'll go into class and he'll have gashes or bruises or something. And he used to think, hey, I'm going to get in trouble for this. I don't know how the schools love it because the kids are so enthralled with it. They know that he's not out fighting, he's not getting into bar brawls or anything that they know what he does. But it is so funny because you sit there and he'll take a picture with all these kids coming up and just playing. But it is I love hearing about that interaction with the students. I think that's neat because you hear so many bad things that are going on with teachers, and that's just something that you can tell they're touching, that you're touching their heart.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm like in class, like, hey, go check out my EP because it's a touchy subject. I teach in public school. I sing Christian music. So I don't like say it, but it's if they do a Google search, it's one of the first things that comes up and they get curious and they listen. And at that point, they're at home and that's their parents like their prerogative whether they let them do that or not. So
Well,
yeah.
you know what, parents, this is coming from Zach, not Tony. Okay, this is coming from Zach. Let it go. Just let it go. I mean, hey, she's talented. I did notice the one thing on Don't You Worry when I was listening to it as you came on. You've got a lot of pitch in your voice. You've got different pitches in your voice. You've got a really wide variety in how you sing. Did you have is this natural talent or is this something you picked up throughout the years? Was there classes involved?
So my dad sings. My dad is a singer. His sister, my aunt who passed away in 1998, she is a musician. My sister is a singer. My brother sings. We have a lot of musical people in our family. And so I grew up with my dad and my sister singing, and my sister was in chorus in school. I tried chorus for 1 year. It was not my jam. It was not didn't vibe well with it. I didn't like the music. It didn't I that wasn't the way I learned. We did youth choir at our church when we were young, and that also didn't last for very long. I kind of went to the usher board because comparing myself to other people who were in the choir, I didn't think that I had the type of voice that was right for singing. And so I kind of grew up thinking like I could hold a tune, but I couldn't really sing. And then in 10th grade, in ninth grade, I saw a musical that my school put on, and I was like, I'd like to do that. I'd like to act and like sing while I'm acting. And so I tried out for the musical the next year and got a part in the ensemble. And so really my journey to learning how to sing started in musical theater. So people are always like, "Your voice is so powerful." And I'm like, "Well, before I learned to sing, I learned to belt." Like, like before I actually learned anything else about singing, I learned how to project my voice because I was singing from stage and I needed to enunciate and I needed to make sure that the people in the back row could hear the same thing as the people in the front row. So I learned power before I learned control. Um, and so that's where I did musical theater all through high school. And then when I got to college, I was in an a cappella group. Mind you, I still don't know how to read music. I've never learned how to read music, but I can hear sounds and I can mimic them. And so if someone plays a sound, I can make that sound if it's in my vocal range. And so that's really how I learned was by listening to other people sing. And I kind of like developed my own voice out of things that I liked that other people did, if that makes sense. So
Do you write the music as well, or do you or does somebody else write the music and you write the lyrics?
It depends on the song. A lot of times I am the lyricist, and then I have someone else that's helping me out with the melodies. Sometimes there are songs like Strength to Soar and Overcome where the melody came to me as I was writing it. So I was able to kind of sing it in the melody that I wanted. And then my friend and producer, Jared Jones, he actually does the instrumentation and the production, or I may be writing with someone who is a musician and they'll do the melody. When I'm writing music, it's funny because we'll sometimes have a concept, we'll sometimes have a melody, or we'll have some lyrics. And like if I'm working with someone who's more of a melody person, they come up with a melody. I'm like, hey, can you just play that like 10,000 more times and I'll put some words to it? So it's like, just keep playing it on a loop and eventually we will have a song. It's something that I've become famous for in songwriting rooms is sitting quietly in a corner and then all of a sudden popping up with like finished lyrics. Like
Mm.
I'm like, y'all just keep talking, just keep playing the melody, keep throwing ideas out there, and I will be over here putting some things together. And so we usually work in Google Docs, and I'll work on a separate Google Doc so I don't mess up anybody else and kind of do that. And then I'll just like be like, okay, what do you think about this? And slide it into the Google Doc where everybody can see. And yeah, so I'm mostly focused on lyrics and leave the music to the actual musicians who are formally trained or better trained than I am at playing instruments. I can pluck out notes. I can find, like, if I sing something, I can find those notes on a keyboard. And there's fortunately now with technology, there's apps and things like that that will either let you take what you sing and convert it into notes, or you can kind of find the notes on there and put the sounds together. So I use those when I'm by myself.
What what do you want to see where you're at now with your first EP? Where do you want to be in 5 years with the singing?
With music, I would
Yeah.
like to um, be able to sing in different places. I would like to travel around and sing in different places. And, listening to music on your Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music is one thing, but at the core, I am a storyteller and an educator.
Mhm.
And so there's something that's much more impactful to me about being able to actually connect with the people who are hearing the music, to physically be present there. So that's actually what I'm working on right now is trying to create more opportunities to be able to go, whether it's churches or youth camps or whatever the situation may be in different venues, and be able to sing to people.
Well, you spend a lot of time on stage. You also have your signature talk is called Not Today Anxiety.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So, as you mentioned before, having been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder um, about half of my life ago, I've lived with it for a long time. And for a lot of that time, just tried to like ignore it, bottle it up, pretend it didn't exist, which does not go well because that usually turns into me having some sort of emotional explosion that doesn't need to happen. So last September, I was in that kind of place where, like I mentioned before, I needed some help. And I went to therapy. I found a really great therapist who would not let me manipulate him out of doing the hard work. And I tried. He'd be like, "What are you thinking?" And I'd be like, "Nothing." Like, and he wouldn't let that go until I actually told him what I was thinking. And so he kind of guided me through doing some of the hard work. What we realized in that time was that um, I'd suffered through several deaths of friends and family in a short period of time, starting in February of 2020 with my grandfather. and I had not actually dealt with or allowed myself to grieve during that time period. Instead, I just kept doing more things to try to cover up my feelings, to try to be strong for other people, to try to ignore the fact that I was hurting. On top of that, I kept looking around at my life. I'm 46 now, I was 45 last year. I was looking at my life, and it was not the life that I expected to have at 45, and kind of like questioning my choices and how did I get here and all of these things. And that was also a form of grief. So, at the base of my anxiety in this season, it was grief. In other seasons, like when I got out of law school, my anxiety spun out of control because I was just having an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I had kind of lived my life to please other people or to do things that I thought would make people respect me and like me, but they weren't actually things that I had a real passion for doing. So, in different stages of my life, ignoring certain feelings or things that I'm going through has exacerbated my anxiety. And for people that are unfamiliar with anxiety disorders, with regular anxiety, yes, you might worry, you might cry, you might panic, you might like, and it's a normal thing. Like you worry, you get like a bill in the mail that you weren't expecting and you don't have the money. Of course, you're worried about where am I going to get the money, or if a loved one falls ill, you're like you want them to be well, and that's all well and normal. With an anxiety disorder, what happens is that thing that happens is then multiplied in your mind and catastrophizing starts happening. And so your thoughts kind of snowball and spiral out of control to the point that you become frozen, paralyzed in that place. You might have panic attacks. I started having panic attacks when I was 18 years old. I had no idea what was happening. That I thought I was having like mini heart attacks because of the way that my chest would tighten and I wouldn't be able to breathe. Um, but I also just like felt like something was wrong with me and I didn't want to be a burden on people. So I didn't tell anybody. So I just like suffered through it myself. And then, later on, probably in my 30s, I found out actually, yeah, when I was in my 30s, because one of our students at our school had a panic attack and somebody explained to me what was going on. And I was like, oh, I've been having those for a very long time. Like I had no idea what it was. And so um when I talk to people, I like to talk to them about battling anxiety because I used to say that I struggled with anxiety, and I did because I didn't really take ownership over it. I like to ignore it. But now, through prayer and faith and therapy and family support, I'm at a stage in my life where I can help other people, I believe, kind of um, battle their anxiety and not get into that paralysis by analysis state where you can't move on, or you're going to have a panic attack, or you're just kind of stuck in a particular thing, or you're ruminating on one thought over and over again, or you're thinking about the absolute worst possible thing that could happen to the point where you just don't want to do anything at all. So when I say not today anxiety, there's 3 steps that I go through with people to dealing with anxiety. The first step is the first thing that I didn't want to do, which is listen to your anxiety. Like, I'm not going to share some of the thoughts that I've had because they are scary. Um, but there are times when my mind goes places to deep, dark places. And instead of confronting that, I would ignore it. Now I have learned to confront that. Okay, why are you thinking that? What got us here? Let's back this all the way up. Where did this thought start? Okay, and what is that issue? Because, like I said before, that feeling that we have is there for a reason.
Mhm.
It's indicating something, right? Like if we don't have physical pain, then we don't know to go to the doctor. If we don't have a cough, we don't know that we need like cough medicine to go to, you know what I'm saying? So emotions are the same way. Emotions hit us in a certain way to let us know there's something we need to address, right? And so if we ignore it, it just keeps festering and festering until it becomes something that could be an issue that you really cannot handle yourself. So the first thing I tell people is no, listen to what your anxiety is saying, which is I've told people all the time, my thoughts are a scary place. There was a time when I would not sit in silence because I was afraid of what would pop into my head. And so I just would refuse to like there would be some sort of noise on and around me all the time. If I'm in my car, the radio's on. If I'm in my house, the TV's on. I'm talking to somebody, I'm doing something, I'm looking at something online. Some kind of noise has to happen to drown out what's going on in my brain. Now, when those things come up, I say, okay, what caused me to think about that? And then when I go back to that thing, then I can do the second step, which is learning from my anxiety. Like when I listen to my anxiety, I realize like that the thoughts that I have about something so horrible and wild and weird and wrong and bad that can happen, the likelihood of that thing happening is slim to none. And I look back over my life, the things that my anxiety has told me are going to happen, not a one, not one. Not one of them has happened. Not one of them has come to pass like that. Have bad things happened in my life? Yes. Tragic things? Yes. But none of them are the things that my anxiety told me were going to happen. So I realized like my anxiety is telling me these ridiculous things. I need to step back and see where is that coming from and then learn from that. Okay, what do I need to do when I identify this particular problem? Are there practical steps that I can take? Do I need to get help with this? And that this can be the anxiety in general, or it can be the particular issue that led to that anxious episode. And then once we know like where the actual problem lies, then you can get to the last step, which is limiting your anxiety. And the two main ways that I use to limit anxiety are gratitude and grounding. Anxiety comes from trying to look too far ahead in the future and basically playing a guessing game as to what is going to happen when all we really have is the right here and the right now. So, one of the things that I learned in therapy is figuring out how to stay in now, or as I tell myself when I feel myself getting ramped up, I'm like, nope, come back to now. What is happening now? Come back to right now in this moment. For people who are having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, um, the best method that I've found to use, and I will even use it on myself, is the 5 4 3 2 1 method. So you use your senses and you get yourself back in the present. You name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell. Like, what are, you go around and like just bring yourself back into that moment because anxiety is taking your mind and running into the future with it. Depression, on the other hand, is usually going into the past and bringing up old stuff and trying to make you sad about it all over again. So, the key with either of those is to stay here and now, and
No,
grounding techniques help you do that.
it's always amazing to me that some of the worst things in life, some of the more difficult things in life that we deal with are in short spurts, you know, and if we can just get clear of that short spurt and like you said, get back to, a grounding, get back to where we are, we can get that under control. One of the things that I really appreciate about what you're talking about is that you're openly telling people that, you have a way to deal with this, yet you're still telling people, look, this still happens to me.
Mhm.
I'm not a master of this. I'm not a master of all, anxiety. Anxiety still happens. I think a lot of times, I think we as a people, we hear somebody talk about something like anxiety, and me personally, when somebody says, "Yeah, I whipped anxiety," I'm like, "You're full of it. There's no way it's completely out of your life." You know, if you have no money, you're going to be anxious. If you have too much money, you're going to be anxious. If there's going to be anxious times in your life. So what I really do appreciate about what you were just saying is that you openly tell us that, this is still something. I still deal with this every day, but now I found a way to deal with it better. And I appreciate, and I absolutely love that. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's when when I reflect, one of the reasons that I avoided getting help or talking to anyone about what I was going through is because it seemed like no one else was going through anything like it.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times people suffer in silence because they think they're the only person that's experiencing a thing. Or it's just like, for example, I'm single, divorced to be exact, right? And so when having anxiety about my singleness, it's hard to talk to people who don't understand the situation that I'm in being 46, single, and childless, right?
Yeah.
It it's hard to find someone that identifies with that, right? And so the same thing happens with anxiety in general. Like if you're talking to, and like I said, my therapist helped me out. My sister's a therapist. I know a lot of great mental health counselors, but when you're talking to someone from the standpoint that they are saying that they're like an expert in this, it can be intimidating, right? and and it makes you want to be less open because it's like, oh, well, they were able to just like conquer this thing, and I could never
Person's gonna
do
think I'm a
that.
wackadoo.
Right. Right. So not, like I like trained therapists notwithstanding, because they're there to help you facilitate to get to that point. But like other people who are, speaking or on any subject where they're like, and this is how I did this. Like, it's hard for me to listen to people that are married talk about the struggles of being single. I don't want people to not, they feel like I can relate um when I to the things that they're going through. Because like I said, at the heart of the matter, I want people to understand that they're not alone
Mhm.
in what they're going through. And that those have always been the things that are the most helpful to me, is when I feel like the person who is speaking or the person who is writing or the person who is singing or whatever, when I feel like they can identify with my pain, my emotions, what I'm going through, then I'm more likely to listen to that song. I'm more likely to read that book. I'm more likely to listen to that person speak. I think a lot of what happens is we're afraid to be vulnerable and transparent. A lot of people put on a cloak of like perfection and like I'm a guru with this. Like I've had a lot of people that are like, you should become a coach. And I'm like, why? Like I I'm still struggling.
Yeah.
Like, or take that back. I'm still battling. I won't say I'm struggling, but I am still battling. Like this is a battle. Like every morning when you wake up, there's a fight for you. Like, is your flesh or your spirit gonna win today? Like, is your anxiety or your faith gonna win today? Like, every day I'm fighting for my life. But the difference is I'm fighting from a place of victory now because I know different steps that will help me handle it. Right. So I just want to encourage people that there is hope out there, and I want them to know, like, yes, I somebody chastised me for saying like I have anxiety, like stop claiming it. I'm like, no, I mean it is what it is.
You know
I
what?
have I have anxiety. Anxiety
Yeah.
doesn't have me though. Like that's like as long as it doesn't have me, we're good.
Yep. And this is one of the reasons why I started this show, is because you know what? Somewhere out there, Tony, there is another 46-year-old childless mom or childless lady who's looking for someone else who's been through that situation. We've thousands and thousands of years of humanity, very few of us are going to experience something for the very first time. It's
Mhm.
already happened before. And where, yes, we feel alone a lot, and with anxiety, I'm pretty sure it's really hard to take and open your circle a little bit more. But if we can offer people like yourself to others, maybe we can help them out. And I appreciate you joining us today. This was so much fun. I'd love to have you back sometime soon. Um, I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I think that we've got so much more that we could talk about.
Yeah,
Would you
this
be
has been
willing to come back?
absolutely. It's been great.
Well, I appreciate that. Tony, how do people get a hold of you?
The easiest way to find me is through my website, which is ToniLaShaunMusic.com, ToniLaShaun music.com. And my socials are on there. Most of my socials are Toni LaShaun Music or Toni LaShaun. So yeah, I there's a contact me page on there. If anyone needs me to come speak to a group or a church or anything, I'm available to do that. And the music is all there. Just I try to keep people encouraged.
Well, and I want you to go on ahead, and I was going to play the video, but I want you to tell me what song I should share and then tell us what we're going to listen to.
I think "Don't You Worry" is only appropriate. So,
Okay.
because we have been talking about the anxiety, it is the anthem that is nearest and dearest to my heart. It's the song that you can dance it out to, sing at the top of your lungs. Dancing it out is also a good grounding technique, by the way. Um, it reminds you to be grateful and have gratitude and just to know that you're not alone and God will take care of you and he wants to hear from you so you don't have to face any of your battles alone.
Well, I'm going to tell you this: if anybody walked into the room and I was dancing, they would think that I'm on fire. So I probably won't be doing that. Tony, I want to thank you so very much for joining us. And I also, once again, I want to thank you for allowing us to uh, play your song, Don't You Worry, which we're going to start here in a second. But thank you. And please come back and visit us at any point in time and share anything that you've got coming up.
Will do. And thank you for sharing the music and getting the message out there. I really appreciate the opportunity anytime that I can encourage and uplift other people.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Worry creeps into your mind like a thief in the night, robbing you of your peace. You can't see how it will be alright. No need to stress about what God's already got worked out. Don't you worry about a thing. God is faithful and he will take care of you. Don't you worry about a thing. God is able to carry you through. Don't you worry. thing, but in everything, with prayer and thanksgiving, make your request known to God, and the peace that passes all understanding will guard your heart. Don't you worry about a thing.
It will always amaze me how somebody can take something that they're good at and they can turn it into something positive. And honestly, you know, listening to her song, everything that she was talking about, she was singing about it, you know. Honestly, everything that she was saying to us was the words in that song. So you know, I want to thank her very, very much once again. Whoa, I almost made the big faux pas of knocking stuff down. Toni LaShaun Music at gmail.com is how you get a hold of her. Toni LaShaun Music at gmail.com. Visit her website at www.ToniLaShaunMusic.com. ToniLaShaunMusic.com. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I want to once again bring up our brand new channel sponsor, Miss Jill E. Schultz, JillySchultz.com. Jill went through one hell of a childhood, and she faced some things that we only hear about in nightmares, and she's come out on the other side and become a wonderful speaker and somebody who can really help other people after being assaulted as a child. Please reach out to her at jill@jilleschultz.com. Tell her you heard about her right here on the PAC channel, and she will want to continue to stay with us. Speaking of Jill, she's going to be a guest here in the next couple weeks, right here on Footprints Forward. We are thrilled to be interviewing her and bringing her on as a guest to talk to you, and that way you can hear her story. Toni, thank you so very much for today, for sharing your story and for being the person that you are. Jill, thank you for your sponsorship. Scott, Z, Les, and the crew at Exilia, thank you all very much for making this happen. But for everyone at the PAC channel, my name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channel. I want to thank you very much and remind you, please love somebody out there, because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping anyone, you're hurting everyone. So please, please remember, no one has to go it alone. When we all come together, we will see you next week right here on Footprints Forward.